This is going to be a housekeeping video. If you want to hear where I am in relation to the goals that I set at the beginning of the year for my writing, then definitely stick around. If you don't, then you should go watch this video right here because it's probably really important. Hi, my name is Seth. I'm a full-time fantasy author and I like making YouTube videos. And as part of this, I have committed myself to a number of writing goals that I've sort of stated publicly at the beginning of this year in one of my videos. And I wanted to do a little check-in because it's been 3 months. And so the year is, if you can believe it or not, already a quarter over. That's kind of a scary thought. Time moves so quickly. Anyway, that's enough existential crisis for this video. I wanted to spend a little bit of time, though, talking about my goals, talking about where I am, talking about whether or not I'm going to be able to achieve what I set out to achieve, and if not, what am I going to do about it? Now, at the beginning of this year, you'll remember that I set out with the goal of writing 2 million words. That is a lot of words. And as the year progresses, I am realizing just how many words it actually is. I knew it was an aggressive goal going into it, and it's feeling more and more aggressive as time passes. Frankly, writing is really hard, and getting consistent numbers every day is really tough. It's draining mentally, it's draining physically, and sometimes the stress of that and the frustration of that will pile up and pile up and pile up, and I'll find that I'm just unable to write for like days at a time. And so writing 2 million words in a year seems like a stretch, and that's because it is. This goal was intentionally set to stretch me, to expand what it is that I'm capable of, and to really just sort of see, okay, I've done 1 million words. Can I do 2? Is that even reasonable? Is that even possible? And I figure that the best way to find out is to attempt it. And so that's what I'm doing. But how am I doing? That is actually the question. So we are 3 months in, and I've written 310,000 words since the beginning of January. Now, that seems really good. And when I saw that number, I was like, wow, that's actually pretty impressive. That's, over 100,000 words a month. And for me, I felt like, hey, that's really good. And then I started doing some basic math. There are 4 quarters in a year, and if it took me a quarter to write 310,000 words, you can see where I'm going with this. Well, by the end of the year, if I keep that pace up, I'm going to have a bit over 1.2 million words, which, while impressive, is a little bit shy of my 2 million word goal. Now, if I do keep this up, I will beat last year's record by 100,000 words, which is awesome. That's like an entire additional book. But my goal was a little bit more aggressive than 1 extra book. I was shooting for like 6 or 7 extra books. If I keep up the pace that I'm currently at, it'll leave me 760,000 words short. That's a lot of words. So anytime we have a goal and it looks like we're not going to meet it, it's really important to do a little bit of self-reflection and to assess to see whether or not it's a reasonable goal, whether or not we should change it. Is it a problem of the goal or is it a problem of my actions? And most importantly, what do I do in this situation where I'm behind? If I keep up my current pace, which I think is great, don't get me wrong, I'm not down on myself because I've only written 310,000 words since January. But if I'm not going to meet my goal, then it makes sense to reassess and just try to figure out what am I going to do. So the first and most important question is, am I going to change my goal? And the answer to that is actually a resounding no. It's too early to do that. I still have 3 quarters. I still have plenty of time to catch up. Now, if this was like 3rd quarter and I was like, man, I'm going to hit 1.2 million words, but there is no way I'm getting to 2 million. At that point, I need to maybe adjust my goal and I might need to say, hey, I think I failed this year. This is how I'm going to try to do my best. And this is how I'm going to readjust for next year. But it's still early days. We have a lot of time between now and the end of the year. And if I make some adjustments, I'm pretty confident that I can still hit that 2 million. At the most basic, my word count has to go up. That is the single thing that has to happen in order for me to hit this goal of 2 million words. So I checked my average, and my daily word count, writing Monday through Friday for the last 12 weeks, and I've hit just above 5,000 words a day, which is fantastic. Again, I am not down on myself about this. I think that is an awesome achievement. But if I want to have any hope of getting to that 2 million words, I need to bump that to about 10,000 words a day. And partly that's to make up for what I've missed, but also that's because I know that there are going to be days when I don't get to write. And so I'm going to have to write more to make up for the days I don't get to write, and I'm going to have to write more to make up for what I've missed in this first part of the year. But instead of just jumping to 10,000 words a day as my new target daily word count, because that's what my target word count was, I'm actually going to back off. I'm going to say 7,500 words, which for me is 3 chapters. That's what I'm going to aim for. That's what I'm going to try to do over the course of a day. And hopefully that will start moving me in the right direction. And those little changes are going to push me where I need to be so that I can start writing 10K regularly. We're going to take baby steps to get there though. I'm going to practice what I preach. I'm going to make some small, deliberate changes instead of just trying to rush for this big goal. The other thing that I'm going to do is I'm actually going to start experimenting with other ways of writing, because I realized through talking to some other people, there are other ways of doing it. And some of those ways are way more efficient in terms of word count than the way I write. And so I'm starting to experiment a little bit. Partly that's with plotting. I'm just starting to try to plot more. I'm trying to have a better understanding of where the story is going when I sit down to write. Part of that is hitting a different writing rhythm. So structuring my day a little bit differently to try to maximize the periods that I have to write in concentrated bursts instead of just sort of spreading it out over the whole day. And then the last thing that I'm going to check out is dictation. And I'm going to do a full video on this in the future and maybe talk to some other writers about their experiences with it. But dictation seems like something that could be helpful to me. I'm not sure if it's going to fit my writing style. I'm not sure if I can adapt it to my needs, but we're going to give it a try. So for anybody who doesn't know, dictation is where you simply speak a story and then you use software to turn that into written words, and then you go back through and you edit and you refine that. But you can get your first draft out pretty quickly dictating. And again, like I said, I'm going to do a full video on dictation in the future once I've had a little bit more time to play around with it. I'm just getting my feet wet, but a lot of people swear by it. But at the end of the day, the most significant change that I'm going to try to make is doing more work. And I know that doesn't sound very sexy, and that's not like a cool hack or anything, but literally just showing up and doing the work is really the thing that's going to get me to 2 million words. There are really no shortcuts. At the end of the year, if I haven't put 2 million words down, it means that I will have failed. And the only way to do that is work. And just showing up and sitting down and doing the writing, I think, is the biggest thing that I can do to contribute to my success with this goal. I mean, I might get to the end of the year and I might look at it and be like, man, 2 million words was a terrible idea. It was a dumb goal. I should never have done it. But what is life worth if we don't try hard things?